Hello, people. Listen, a lot going on. Oh my goodness. We're going to talk about Gene Borrello today. Listen, I the last time I spoke to Gene Borrello was a while back. It was right before he went for Florida, and I told him that he should not go down and get involved in a relationship that didn't work in New York. He followed the girl down there. A lot of things has happened, and people were hearing about these things happen. The girls, the stalking charges. The girl he was arrested 3 times down there, but it's turning out to be much more than that. Stuff that people haven't heard. I'm going to give it to you here right now. It looks like Gene Borrello. Well, let me read this, and then you guys can make your own determination. The reason I'm releasing this today is because of Jerry Capisci is probably going to have this out tomorrow, so I'm going to try to get it out before he does. And I'm just going to start. This was given yesterday to Judge Block. Gene Borrello was supposed to be in court today, but the prosecution has decided that they wanted to move it up to February 8th. So his new sentencing day is February 8th, 2023. And here's what it says. This was given to the judge yesterday. The government respectfully submits this letter to provide a status report regarding the defendant to request the following relief. First, the government requests the defendant be sentenced on February 8th, 2023 in connection with violations of supervised release to which he pled guilty on November 16th, 2021. For that reason set forth below, the government requests that the defendant be sentenced to above guidelines sentence of 36 months imprisonment for those violations. Second, the government requests a hearing date at the court's earliest availability in connection with the charges against the defendant set forth in probation's violation report dated September 12, 2022. Third, the government requests that the court order defendant to provide to the court, the United States Probation Department, and the government his medical records that purportedly demonstrated a need to adjourn his sentence that was previously set on January 18th. Okay, so what's happening is Gene told the courts that he was sick, and he told them that he would send them documentation to prove that he was sick, and that's why he couldn't go from Florida to New York, and they never received it, and now they're saying that he's lying and that they want proof of him being sick. As described in detail below, since the last appearance before the court on June 15th, 2022, the defendant has continued to violate terms of his supervised release and engaged in other criminal activity. He has shown no regard of the orders of the court of the law. He is a danger to the community. He has no progress towards rehabilitation. In fact, since the defendant was permitted to leave for Florida, his conduct has only become increasingly aggressively dangerous. The defendant has breached this court's trust over and over and over again. The defendant should be held accountable for his actions. Okay, and I'm not going to read you the old charges. Everybody knows about the old charges. Originally, he went to his girlfriend's house and he threatened the husband. Let me give you an example. Here's something. This is some of the audios. The minute you call the cops and grow some balls, you watch. I will blow your husband's head right off the middle of the street. Effing try me. And message 2, do not make me come to your effing mother's house right now. I am dead effing serious. Message 3, don't forget me. Remember what I used to do. I will grab your father right now and beat the dog poop out of him. Be happy I don't grab you and your fat, ugly husband by the neck and drag you down the street. So when he got arrested for this, he basically violated his probation, but they gave him another chance. You know, they let him back out. He did a little time and got back out. So here's what happened. Here's the new stuff that happened. I'm not going to read you this whole report. Look at this whole report. This whole report is massive. Okay. So I'm going to read you the stuff that he's done recently that a lot of us don't know about. Okay, let's get back over here. Okay. Okay, so it says, after the court permitted Borrello to move to Florida in reliance on his forged letter, Borrello continued to commit crimes. What happened is Borrello had a forged letter that he was working for a roofing company, and it turned out that the letter was a fake letter. And so at that time, that's when a lot of this trouble started. Let's see. Borrello's text messages leave no doubt that he is utterly unconcerned with the conditions of his supervised release and believes he will never be held accountable for his action. The defendant has engaged in repeated violent, aggressive conduct with two separate victims. He discussed the use of firearms. He personally used controlled substances. He lied to the court in probation. He has demonstrated to the court how he will treat the second, third, and fourth chances. According to each section of 3553, factors weigh in favor of the sentence at the top of the guidelines, which means they want to give him the most he can have. That's 3 years. He has to go back to prison for 3 years. Gene Borrello, from his actions and words, has made it unquestionably clear that he will be undeterred by non-custodial sentence. Since February 2021, Borrello has established a pattern of breaching the court's trust. His violations, no longer limited to YouTube video podcasts, physically endanger those whom he comes in contact with. The severity and breadth of Borrello's conduct justify a sentence above the guidelines. As set forth, although the defendant has yet to be sentenced on his July 30th, 2021 violations and supervised release, he continues to commit additional violations. The government believes that it is unlikely to reach an agreement with the defendant on an appropriate sentence for the September 12th, 2022 violations. Therefore, the government is requesting that the court set a hearing date regarding the September 12th, 2022 violations of at the court's earliest availability. On January 2nd, 2023, the defendant requested an adjournment for his sentences before this court, previously scheduled for January 18th. Purportedly due to contagious illness, defense counsel provided the screenshot of the medical records. The government agreed an adjournment, so not to expose individuals on a flight with the defendant on the condition that the defendant produce medical records established for the illness. As of this writing, the government has not received any records. Given the defendant prior false statements, court and probation law enforcement conducted additional investigations into the defendant's purported illness. The government has learned the defendant was out in public approximately 16 hours prior to his request for an adjournment of sentences, and then again on January 17th. He was supposed to be in court today, 1 day before the defendant was due to be sentenced before the court. For those reasons, the court order should order the defendant to produce the medical records to which he relied, seeking an adjournment on January 18th, 2023, which is today. For the foregoing reasons, the government respectfully submits that the court sentence the defendant to 36 months imprisonment, set a hearing date in connections with the September 12th, 2022 violation report, and order the defendant to produce above described medical records. So basically what this means is not only is he going to be sentenced to 3 years, there's going to be new violations of probations coming up. See, people think it's easy when you go on probation, but if you are a criminal, if you're always getting in trouble, I was young and I used to get in trouble. Being on probation isn't always a good thing because then you wind up getting charged with violating probation. Okay, I'm going to go back and read his charges since he's been down in Florida. Some of these charges no one even knew about. So this is all new, put out into the court system. Okay, let me find them. Okay. In September 2022, before we get to that, this is a very important part to read. On July 22nd, 2021, Borrello's Android cellular telephone was enrolled into the probation monitoring program. On February 11th, Borrello said a second cellular phone on his T-Mobile plan was used by his brother and not him. On February 16th, Borrello claimed to have canceled the iPhone at the direction of probation. On On June 23rd, 2022, Borrello denied having a second telephone. However, a law enforcement investigation related to the July 14th, 2022 domestic incident discussed above revealed that Borrello was using the iPhone, the phone that he was directed by probation to cancel in 2021. This number remains active and listed in Borrello's name. So basically, he had a second phone. He told probation that he was going to shut it off and get it off his report, but he was using it as a second phone. That's another violation of the program that he was put into. As you'll see, there's many violations here. There's not one or two. I'm reading this to you, and I'm telling you his violations, people. This isn't fun, but I'm getting it out today because it's going to be out tomorrow. Okay, and then it says uncharged conduct since June 15th, 2022. In addition to the charge violation, there is significant evidence Borrello has continued to engage in other destructive, illicit, menacing conduct since he was released to Florida on January 15th, 2022. In September of 2022, federal agents executed a judicial authorized warrant search and seized Borrello's cellular telephone. The warrant evidence recovered from the phone included communications between Borrello and co-conspirator 1 in which they discussed stalking and threatening a victim. On September 2nd, 2022 at 10:48, co-conspirator 1 sent Borrello a screenshot of a text exchange between the conspirator and victim 2, as well as a photo of victim 2. For example, co-conspirator, I sent Borrello an address to which victim 2 was located, along with a message, I'm going to kill this MFer. Borrello responded at 10:52, writing, I got this. At 10:53, writing, bro, I'm cracking him. So basically, he's discovered I'm taking another guy, maybe with his girlfriend. At 1:22 a.m., September 3rd, co-conspirator texted Borrello, I wish you had a GoPro when all this went down. Oh my God. And Borrello responded, bro, he's a herb. He can't talk tough no more. On September 3rd, 1:38, the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office arrived at a lounge in response to a call by victim 2. Victim 2 told the police that the previous night on September 2nd at approximately 10:50, he was serving patrons at the bar when an identified male subject entered the lounge and began yelling at him to go outside to talk. The subject told victim 2 that he sent the co-conspirator to deliver the message, you're effing dead. Victim 2 also seen the subject lift up his shirt to reveal something black in his waistband before he left the lounge. So somebody was sent here to threaten this guy, and he was packing. This is the second conspirator. So somebody was working with Gene, and this was all going on down there. Borrello's text, okay, well, I'm sorry, okay, so it says, the subject told victim 2 that he was, victim 2 also saw a subject lift up the shirt to reveal something black in his waistband, and he left the lounge. A witness captured 2 photos of the subject's black SUV leaving the scene. On September 8th, 2022, when Borrello was arrested for stalking, traffic stop photos shows he was driving a black SUV. Borrello's text message reviewed to the warrant also revealed potential criminal conduct, specifically on June 29th, 2022. Co-conspirator, I sent Borrello a picture of a firearm. Co-conspirator number 1 sent to Borrello a picture of a firearm. Co-conspirator 1 also sent a message to Borrello referencing to the straw purchase of firearms in a reference to a shotgun. He's on federal probation, people, and he's playing with guns. He's having guns sent to him. You know, these are just things that are being done out in the open now, blatantly out in the open. The FBI is seeing this being done. The prosecution seeing this being done. And when the judge sentences him on February 8th, the judge is going to know all this stuff has been done. I don't see him getting out of this one, people, but with law, you never know. Pursuant to the same search, law enforcement discovered that on several occasions, Borrello referenced his personal use of controlled substances. So now he's violating by controlled substances. For example, on August 26, 2022, Borrello texted co-conspirator 1, "Bring me my steroids." And the other conversations, via text message, Borrello discussed steroids, Xanex pills, whiny steroids, and juice, which is steroids. Specifically, in separate series of text messages reviewed, Borrello admitted to lying to the court and probation. Specifically on May 10th, 2022, Borrello texted an associate, "F with probation." On May 18th, 2022, Borrello texted someone called "my burner number." And on July 11th, 2022, Borrello texted co-conspirator 1, "If my PO calls there, I'm done. I lied again." And these are text messages. And these are because of the warrants that were served to pick up these phones. And when he was having trouble with the girl, the cops kept stuff when he was stalking the girl. And these phones were picked up. The district court has broad discretion in imposing sentence with the context of violations of supervised release. Proceeding, the court can revoke supervised release and order the term of imprisonment followed by additional supervision. As for the Second Circuit, he explained, the primary goal of revocation sentence ought to be to sanction the violator for failing to abide by the conditions of the court-ordered supervision, in order to account for the breach of trust inherited and failing to appreciate the privileges associated with such supervision. And then it says, the government respectfully submits that a sentence of 36 months imprisonment is necessary to achieve the goals of sentencing the defendants for repeated violations. The very purpose of supervised release revocation hearing is to determine the gravity of the breach of trust committed by the defendant in the context of the conditional liberty. He was granted the following conviction of the underlying offense. And let's see. Borrello blatantly disregarded the court's orders on July 2021 continuing to post videos to YouTube glorifying his criminal conduct. On June 5th, 2022, he stood before the court having impermissibly traveled to Florida 1 month prior, where he was arrested for 2 crimes. He did not disclose the visit of the arrest to the courts. Instead, he engaged in further misconduct by submitting a forged letter of employment and making a misrepresentation to the court. So pretty much what he did there is he did not tell the courts, our probation, about his contact with the police department. And we know that anybody who's on probation knows that if you have trouble with the law, you have to let them know about what's going on. After the court permitted Borrello to move to Florida in reliance on his forged letter, Borrello continued to commit crimes. He treated his conditional release as a license to commit unfettered violations, lying to probation about his law enforcement contacts, and discussing his unlawful behavior on an unauthorized burner phone. Borrello's text messages leave no doubt that he is utterly unconcerned with the conditions of his supervised release and believes he will never be held accountable for his actions. The defendant has engaged in repeated violations of violent and aggressive conduct with 2 separate victims. He discussed the use of a firearm. He personally used controlled substances. He lied to the court and probation. He has demonstrated to the court how he will treat a second, third, and fourth chance. And I read that already, people. And this is this has come from the prosecution they want Gene back in jail, and now it's always up to the judge, people. You know, you can read this stuff, you hear the worst stuff on here, but it's always up to the judge. But now the probation in Florida is upset with him. A lot of things are going on right now. listen, we don't wish that anybody goes to jail. I definitely don't. Um, when I was associating with Gene and he was in New York, I actually seen a good side to him. He was out working, but at that time when he was trying to get his life together, he had a bracelet on his ankle. As soon as that bracelet came off is when Gene really started having issues again. Uh, Once he took that bracelet off, it became like a freedom to him. He no longer had to worry about the bracelet on his ankle, and nobody was watching him. So, what probation is trying to say, when it's unsupervised, when Gene's not being supervised, he has a lot of issues. Whether, he just can't control himself. And my advice to Gene Borrello is, dude, you're still young. You're facing some time now. You're going to be 40 years old, most likely, before you get out of jail. So now it's up to you what you're going to do. You were given so many chances, my man, and you just wanted to defy the law like a gangster. And the mafia is not what it used to be, Gene. You're not mafia. People are down in Florida. You're running around with a co-conspirator, and you're harassing this girl. You're harassing who she's with or who's around her. We're talking weapons involved. We're talking drugs involved. We're talking steroids involved. This is a real serious thing. So my advice to you, Gene Borrello, is take a good look at yourself. Decide what you're going to do in your life. Is this the way you want to spend it until you're like me? I was in my 50s doing things. And is that what you want? You got so much going for you. You went down to Florida, you became part of a business, but you were out of control with all this other stuff. It's not like you were robbing money that you needed cash or anything. This was based on crazy love. And you lined the probation just so you can have a burner phone, a second phone, an iPad. This is why they put you on probation. But it's obvious that you can't do probation, dude. So I think that you really got to consider whether maybe just getting the time out of the way, because now you have a chance of being violated for more stuff, and to have sentences added on to your 3 years. That's where you're at right now. And I just wanted to read that to you, people, so you have an idea what's going on. You're going to hear a bunch of stuff, but these are the legal documents right here. I'm going to go right up here. I'm going to pull it here. I'm not going to put these out yet, but if you go to Dominic's Justice Tech Pro, he has some documents out there too. And but this right here, I'm just going to slowly go through it. If you want to slow this down and then take it. I cannot put these out right now. I'm not going to put them underneath. There's other documents too. That could be another time. But I just wanted to discuss this with you. Gene, I wish you the best, dude. Don't really want to see this happen to you. I don't want to see this happen to no man. But sometimes a man's his own worst enemy. Please sub to this. Please like this video if you like it. People, take care.